I'll give it to you, David, to start off. Yeah, so when we started thinking about doing this this Nordic tour, we wanted to get our investors involved to actually tell you guys how you are going to get the most out of Slush. And that's basically the only reason they're here as well. So if you guys have any questions at any point during our talk or whatever, please put up your hand and we'll answer it right away. That's the only reason we're here, to help you guys out, nothing else. Yeah, let's start with the investors telling who they are. David, go ahead.
Hi, I'm David Gardner. I am a partner at London Venture Partners. We are a specialty fund that focuses on investments in the video gaming sector. So games, companies that produce technology to support games, anything related to the ecosystem of gaming. We've been investors in companies like Unity, a Danish company that builds a development engine, Amplifier, which does marketing that was bought by Unity. We were investors in Supercell in Finland. We've been investors in Natural Motion in the UK that Zynga bought. So we've been involved in quite a few games industries. And all of our partners have worked in the games sector. So we focus very early stage, pre-revenue generally, and preferably we have a typical investment size of about $500,000.
Yep. I'm Stina. I just recently joined 500 Startups to run their operations in the Nordics. 500 Startups is Silicon Valley's most active seed investor. Invested so far in more than 1,200 companies. Currently doing seed investments in the Nordics, and the first program that we'll run in the Nordics is going to be in Oslo in January. It's a pre-accelerator program, a 4-week program for very early stage companies. Typically have a product live in the market, but need to learn how to grow and get their first users and customers. Focused on consumer-facing startups, web, mobile, fintech, securities, music video type of industries. Yep.
Hi, everyone. Hello? Okay. I'm Nathan Benaich. I work at Playfair Capital. We're a seed fund based in London. We're 5 people. We invest across the world. Most of our portfolio is actually European. We have some investments in East Africa and some in the US. Our sector focus is quite broad, but generally speaking, it's either user experiences that focus on procuring products, services, or information. And then on the other side, we like to invest in more deeper tech technologies that are basically empowering components for software businesses in the future. Typical check size around £200,000, usually after the angel round. Like to be super active in portfolio companies. We feel like that's the most fun part of everything. Yeah, really young team, pretty hungry. We invested a little bit in the Nordics, but not enough. So definitely looking for some amazing teams out here.
Hi, I'm Linus Dahg. I'm from Wellington Partners, a VC based out of London, and I'm also the Office Scandi, being Swedish myself. We do early stage investments as well, so seed to Series A, and primarily sort of Nordics, UK, and German-speaking countries. And only software-based companies at this point, about 70% business to business and 30% consumer stuff. There's something specifically we look for. We try to find the companies that sort of work in areas that aren't super competitive. So like try to find the ones that actually, chasing something that's going to happen within 2 to 3 years, not just a market opportunity that you can see right now. Also, fairly small team, 4.5 people. So, and of which sort of I cover the Nordics primarily for us.
Cool. Thanks for those. And before the trip, we gave all of our investors kind of their own special, section of Slush that they're going to cover based on what we know that they've done in the past. So we're actually going to start with the first thing that you're going to do as well, which is filling out the registration. And Linus here has been a part of our screening process for the past 2 years. So he's looked through, I don't know, how many companies and has a few pointers on for you guys on how to actually fill out the registration so that you stand out of a list of, it's going to be 50 companies this year. Last year it was 100. So a list of 50 companies. Yeah, and I'm gonna open up the registrations here so that you kind of see what it looks like.
As you can tell by the topic, it's not the most fun one, so I'll keep it short. Yeah, so basically, obviously, as you can imagine, looking at a spreadsheet is so much fun. And going through 50 to 100 is...
even more fun.
Yes, amazing. So if I can give like one big pointer to start with, keep it short and crisp, because there is a massive information overload, and to be frank, we don't really handle that well. As you can see, you basically just put the industry, company descriptions, stuff like that. To be honest, there are a few things that we're going to look at. Most of the stuff we might not dig into in too much detail. So from that perspective, I'd say that size of the market, you don't need to write it out. We usually know that. Every investor has to know sort of decently if their market is growing or if it's not. If we don't, we're not really good at what we do. So don't quote Gardner, please. That'd be amazing. So basically, just something on the market. If it's big enough, it's going to be interesting. Product-wise, if you can show some sort of early traction, and that can be preferable traction that you want to showcase. So if, for example, if you don't have a lot of downloads, if you're in that kind of play, but you do have great engagement, focus on that. If you have instead a massive amounts of downloads, but like really staggering churn, don't bring that up. Just take the downloads, because it's all about getting getting on top of someone's head that we want to choose you to do a pitch. And final thing, if you don't have any traction whatsoever, focus purely on the team. And not only, that's a lot better actually. And from that perspective, it's more about trying to figure out do you guys complement each other? What you've done in the past? Can we see that you guys are the right ones to actually build this business? So the more you can show that you have passion and obsession, that's awesome. Final thing, if you do fail at getting into the pitch selection, don't despair. The good thing is that this is also the same thing as will make all the investors want to try to meet you. So it doesn't, just because you didn't get chosen for this doesn't mean people don't like you, and you'll see that when the matchmaking comes along. Very good.
Yeah, exactly. And I've usually gone after Linus. I've gone back to David, who actually uses the matchmaking platform to look at companies and try to find them. And what do you want to see when you kind of log into and read through those descriptions?
Yeah, so it's very similar information, and it's the same database. So you're filling it out, hopefully trying to get selected into the top 50 for pitching. But if you're making video games, you probably won't get in the top 50. It's just the way it goes, right? But I'll be interested, and so it's important that you put the focus elements of what are you working on? What's the genre? Why do you believe it's the next big thing? We are really not interested in copycat products. We don't want to see number 400 Clash of Clans clone and another one of these kind of same Me Too copycat things. But we are very interested in the teams. Usually, statistically speaking, unfortunately, your product's going to fail. But if the team is resilient and smart, they're going to learn from that failure. And I think highlighting, these kind of team elements is super important. Keeping it brief, it was mentioned before, there is information overload. So unless you can kind of put some secret Swedish words in that Linus picks up for
do it.
Yeah, I do. The rest of the spreadsheet jockeys are going to just want to be able to kind of scan down through the columns, and they're going to pretty quickly see who has the elevator pitch. Actually, I have to say I was kind of impressed by the on the wall when you come in here in reception. There's a list of all the companies and a very short description of what they are. And I thought actually it was pretty nicely done. And so you're going to have to kind of imagine, and I was able to read through every one of them and realize, oh yeah, there's a couple of interesting companies here that to take a deeper look at, and that's really what's going on. The matching engine seems pretty good. Yeah, we pretty much, but we're quite a focused fund, so it's very easy for us to say no. We're not interested in clean tech. We're not interested in robotic recycling, artificial intelligence, and stuff like that. But for those of you who are much broader, trying to meet up with wider investors, then you need to really be accurate about what what stage investment you're looking at, how much money, et cetera, and that all goes through for the matching tool to configure. Anything else I should say? I did well. No? I need the feedback. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Cool.
Mutual support.
Do you guys have any questions on this point? Because we're going to move on from filling out the registration to the next thing. Any questions?
Does the form support emojis?
I actually don't know. That's a good question. You
could do like emojis. You may pop out and look very unusual.
Yeah,
or it may come as gobbledygook. Like you can't type.
Swedish flag.
They should work. Yeah, Swedish flags if you want to get Linus. Cool. Then the next point, next thing we're going to cover is are the meetings at SLUSH. So you've done your registration. You've been successful at getting a meeting with David or one of the other investors. This format at SLUSH is 30 minutes, and that's strict. Because the meeting area, you saw that it's big, but it's still not big enough for you guys to keep sitting there for hours on end. So when the 30 minutes is up, someone is going to come and kick you out, and that's it. The discussion is over. So there's a lot of stuff that you have to cover in 30 minutes, and David has a few points on how to do that. Yeah,
so I think that is the critical, that's really probably the value of going to SLUSH, and that's certainly why I go as an investor. I've actually met companies that I have invested in. It's the only show that actually turns into a relationship that's investable. You may have been to things like this before, but amazingly, very few have been to SLUSH, so I very much encourage you to go because it is world-class, and even though it's in Finland, so, come on, guys. I know there's a little inter-rivalry here, We non-Scandies think that it's one region, but I know between you guys it's highly competitive, but you got to give it to what's been achieved at Helsinki. And you should absolutely go up there. When you are trying to use that 30 minutes, it is a taster. You don't want to try to eat a whole meal and shove a lot of stuff down the investor's throat. You want to give them kind of gourmet bite-sized feelings of, ooh, that's interesting. Oh wow, these guys seem smart, or girls, and this is something really worth following up. And it was mentioned as well earlier. I thought it was a very good point. You've got to be memorable, and we're gonna, if you sort of think 30-minute slots, we're gonna do at least 10 pitches a day over a couple of days. We're probably going to see between 20 to 30 different things. It's all a meld of data. So you're going to have to really figure out how to stand out and be as human as possible. Do not kind of arrive at the meeting and then just start looking like a YouTube video that just kind of streams and endlessly talks at the recipient. Actually slow down, make a connection, be highly authentic. Leave a good impression about the team, the product, how what are some of the basics and how you want to follow things up, and then leave some space. Plan 15 minutes worth of stuff so that you have 15 minutes of 2-to-1 ratio is what I would highly recommend. Maybe, should we go around the...
Yeah, I was just about to ask, because Linus has as well done, and the other guys have done the meetings at SLUSH as well, so any... Yep, go ahead.
I mean...